Welcome to Minecraft Through the Ages, Episode 8, the series where I've been updating world all the way from the first version of Minecraft released to the newest. In this episode, we're just coming off those great multiplayer highs of the 16A event I hosted, and we've now arrived in 17A. Look at all those... So, yeah, not a whole lot of changes were made in this update, and the only changes that were made are pretty multiplayer-centric. But, I mean, that being said, the changes are actually quite welcome. After playing so much vanilla multiplayer for the last episode, they really are noticeable. The main big change in addition for this version is a player list. This means that finally, just by pressing tab, you can see who's playing on a server with you at any moment in time. Another one of the multiplayer changes that go a long way is the addition of an actual chat log. Before, when playing on a server, after a message was sent in the chat, it just disappeared, it was gone. Now, when pressing T, you can see a history of chat messages that were recently received by your client. You wouldn't believe how much of a difference this makes when playing with other people. There was a genuine panic of trying to read a long message after tabbing back in and not knowing how long it's going to last. That's, thankfully, no longer. You can also now change the spawn point of the server with a new admin-only command. So, if I were to do /set spawn here, anyone to join the server would spawn right here, facing the same direction as I did when I entered the command, even though there was no real feedback after I pressed enter. I promise, it works. There's also now server-side client verification in the server.properties, as well as an added loggedin.txt on the server. The final change made is super minor, but it's a change related to the font of the game. The change was just made to make it much more obvious if the character you were looking at was an O or a 0, and that's it. On to glitches that were fixed. We have fixes for the /ban IP command, which is, not actually really a fix, it was just made to make the command more intuitive. A fix that changes the spawn location to the world's default at login. But most importantly, we have some progress in terms of the whole multi-world bug. I'm very, hesitant to call it an actual fix, as the problem lied in the fact that when connected to a server in 16A, you could still access the newly added pause menu, which caused some super strange effects. You were able to connect to a server and just create a new client-sided world, which caused some huge desync issues and necessitated a reconnect. It was a pretty critical bug to try and fix in the next few updates, and things were changed to help with this, but not necessarily fixed in any real way. In 17A, Notch added code to gray out the buttons when connecting to a server, but the actual problem, the creation of a new world leading to desync between the client and the server, hadn't been fixed whatsoever. The game still allowed you to click and use all the functions of the grayed out buttons. It was like they were the exact same. The change was purely visual. How strange. Personally, the vast majority of my time spent playing 17A was just spent building. With an update with as little features to cover as this one, I felt like I had more time to go all out in the building department. I had the idea to take some historical 17A screenshots from way back in 2009 and bring them into my world the best I could. Kinda like I did a while back. This started for me with my building of the Trojan horse pictured in this screenshot. It was actually quite hard to get the proportions right, as the angle of the image wasn't too kind to my recreation efforts. It also isn't a small building by any measure. Next, I decided to build this Imperial Star Destroyer. It was inspired from this screenshot from a flat world. I thought it looked super cool. I was about 88% done finishing the build with, working on finishing touches, and I realized that I had started the build up too high. The build was 3 blocks too high for the very low build height in this version, and I had to remake the entire thing. Let me tell you, mono. This sucked. This made me consider just destroying the whole thing and giving up, I won't lie to you. I did, however, end up persevering, and it turned out to be one of my favorite builds in this area. By this point, the 14A world was really filling out well, but I had one final idea. In the background of the Trojan horse screenshot, you can see there's this Parthenon-style building made out of stone. I had the idea to take that building and make a wonderful little block museum of all the classic blocks. Up until this point, the most accurate and, up-to-date block museum I had was this one from the pre-classic era, and by this point I really needed some future-proofing. I wanted to build it pretty big, but quite frankly it might have gotten out of hand. But, in the end, after flattening out this whole area in preparation, this is what I ended up with. From the inside as well as far away, it looks pretty darn cool. You just have to be sure not to look at it too close up from the outside. Once the building of the actual structure was finished, all it took was to build the area where the actual museum blocks would sit and the project would be done. All in all, I'm really happy with how this 14A looks after this, and this world was easily the most empty before we started, and look at it now. In other screenshot news, this version is home to some fun Minecraft history, so let me tell you a somewhat abridged version of the story of our Minecraft's official server. So, upon hearing that, you might think that the server mentioned doesn't exist anymore, but believe it or not, that's not the case. Nerd.nu is a Minecraft server that still runs to this day, and it was members of this community that back in 2009 first started r/Minecraft. The server was created by a player who goes by AllNaturalX, and you can see here the first post he ever made promoting the server, with the r/Minecraft subreddit being created at the same day as this post. The server garnered almost immediate attention, with a snapshot of the official Minecraft server list viewable from the 12th of June, only 2 days after the server's launch, showing that it was one of the most active server, with it having 14 of the, no I'm not kidding, 274 total people playing at that time. Now imagine that. Let me just go on a little tangent here and say that that's so crazy to think about. I mean, hell, I have a whole handful of videos with more views than the people who were playing Minecraft at the time. Anyways, the version of Minecraft that the server launched on, the most recent version as of June 10th, 2009, was actually 17A. There's a whole boatload more history for this, quite honestly, really cool server, but the climax of our story is to tell you that the screenshot with the horse and Parthenon in the background, that's from Nerd.nu. How cool is that? Now, this has all been fun, but that's not all I've built. I also decided to do a bit of small improvements off camera that sort of spiraled out of control in the medieval city, so let's take a look at what I did. So, the main thing I wanted to do when I was, building all these little ins and outs is I wanted to just try and add a bit more detail to the area. So like I had this whole crevice back here, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, so I just added some park benches and a little table, as well as some, leaves and foliage and trees and whatnot, and some the 14A_03 trees, just to try and kind of spruce the place up a bit. And I tried to do that kind of all around the place. Like I added some more piles of sand you can see up here, and I added, just foliage and fun little details around the place like this. Like I think these logs are new. I don't know. They've been here for a while now, according to my timeline. Got a big pile of trees here, big pile of leaves, as well as I even added a bunch of trees back here, which I don't think was a thing before. A bunch of 14A_03 trees. Just to kind of, make the courtyard of the mansion or town hall look a bit nicer. Still yet to decide on if I want to live there or if it's just going to be the town hall yet. I don't know. I feel like I have to just live there. It feels like it's not grand enough for a town hall. I also, as you can see, kind of sorted this place out a bit more. I'm used to it looking like this because I've been working on this video for so long now. But yeah, I added a little fountain, a little kind of town square, almost sort of building around here, as well as a little pond over the bridge and a little bit of a girder and rail out of leaves, as well as I built this whole kind of area. So if you look over here, I built this kind of entranceway with a little kind of line and queue, and place where you can get your tickets, because what I actually wanted to build is like a little park and zoo. So in here, I've got a lot of, foliage and trees and sort of places where the wildlife can roam free, along with some benches and whatnot. But I also built some animals here. So you can see we've got some deer, I guess I'll call them. They're built very impressively, I know, but, hey, I'm working with limited stock here. This one's going down for a drink of water. He's really thirsty, but, here are all his friends just, hanging out beside the wildlife, and maybe one of them knocked over this tree here and, are eating the leaves or what have you. But I also built a little pond here. There was originally a pond here, but I really like the idea of having a big rock in the middle, and I think it looks really nice. And in all honesty, apart from the creatures that I built, I'm quite happy with this whole area as a whole. In general, I really like how it came out, and it does really kind of give off the energy of like a park inside of a city, which is pretty much what I was going for. As well as I built this sort of industrial looking place. This is a kind of, I don't know, factory or something of the sort. It's got those fun factory like roofs, as well as, the plain drab outsides. I also, I guess I skipped past this, built a little bit of foliage and leafage and a little statue around this area, which I'm really happy with and makes it a little more alive. So coming back over here, I've built this huge kind of place, and my idea for this place was it was going to be something like a storage kind of place, like a storage facility, and in future versions of Minecraft we could even maybe replace these blocks with chests and actually store items here. But it's got quite the capacity, as well as I really like the kind of open concept roof, so you can actually have light in here, unlike every other building in Classic. So I added a little, exit on the other side to the yet to be developed areas. I don't know, I really like how it turned out. And I'm super happy with the fact that I could actually store items here in the future, because I'm sure that'll come in handy. And then I built this built this church because I finished this area and it felt like it was a little empty, but you'll see that in the future. Mainly what I want to talk about here is like all this foliage and all stuff like this. This is stuff that maybe you'll notice, maybe you won't, but stuff that took a lot of time for me to build out, and that just is kind of, background noise to the rest of the main buildings. Speaking of which, I built this watchtower. I'm not sure if you can see it great from where I'm standing currently, but I felt like I needed something to, go along this wall and look over the kind of modern side of the whole place. And so that's what I did. So it's got a big staircase up through the wall, and you can come out on this side at the same level as the wall, or you can keep going up to the top of the watchtower, which is where I've actually set my spawn point, because soon enough in versions, if you try and respawn above or below a certain point, it won't let you. So this is where I spawn in whenever I join the world, which is super fun, overlooking all my buildings. You can see there's a whole lot you can see from here, as well as you can see the whole of this whole district and whatnot. And then, finally, to close it off, I built this. I'm sure you saw it maybe in my B-roll footage, but I built this nice little bridge going to the other side of the island of the 12A world, as well as I built this nice little tree and a little torii gate to bring us up to the very, very pre-classic terrain, with a bit of a spoiler over there. But other than that, and other than what you're about to see soon, I've really been busy. I've really put in a lot of work in just, the small little details, stuff like this, or stuff like the park bench, that take up a lot of time, but that just make really the world feel a lot more alive and a lot more full. With that covered and done with, I've got one final idea for something to build in the city. I was thinking about trying to put something in this rather large pocket of empty space I had left by the zoo. Ultimately, I decided with the help of a friend that one major building this city was missing was a place of worship, so here's a fun little time-lapse of me building a church. And the first time-lapse to be done now that we can, actually do a third-person time-lapse. Enjoy! When talking about Nerd.nu, I talked a bit about how this update was a comparatively infinitesimally small-sized game, but the community was still pretty diverse. One player, who goes by TessFan, provided some archives of the very earliest IRC chat logs about Minecraft. These logs are essentially the very earliest archived community activity by early Minecraft players we have, and reading through it is very interesting. And very 2009. One player, pretty active in these logs, is the player known as AWOL. If you've ever skimmed through old images such as screenshots, you may have come across him, and in these early logs he talks about a terrain generation mod he made for 17A. Any and all links are dead, but it sounded like it was a really cool resource. As recently as December 1st of this year, the YouTuber, and very cool guy, named MCBYT made a video called I Found Minecraft's First Mod. It's pretty incredible. In it, this takes place.
I had no way to find him, and Google wasn't very helpful. I was at a dead end until I found this. A link from AWOL10 to some website called Pure Gamer. That's very 2009 of you, AWOL. He never linked to his mod, just a few worlds he made with it, but I could settle for that. If this pure gamer thing was still up, I could at least get a date on the world, which might prove that the mod was older than the naked skins, which would at least be a step in the right direction. But that was 13 years ago. Either the site or the file had probably disappeared. I expected failure. What I got was more success than I could have imagined.
Because of this video, I got into contact with AWOL to pick up a copy of this archive. I went through a whole lot of hoops that are no longer necessary, as nowadays the archive is posted in OmniArchive. The mod is really cool, but in the RAR is a world generated by the mod, dated to June 18th of 2009. Loading up this world and wow, isn't this cool? While walking around this 13-year-old world for the first time, I had the thought to include this historic world into my polyworld. Now, I know, this probably makes it so that my polyworld is not a 100% vanilla thing, although it never really was because you need to use Omen and MCEdit, and that's already enough to invalidate it on some pretty stable ground, but my goal isn't to play Minecraft the right way. Instead, I'm more interested in playing the game as it was back in 2009, and to include this world generated by a mod, that was what the people of the time were doing. It was quite frankly too good of an opportunity for me to pass up as well, so even though I had some troubles loading up the world in MCEdit, and it turns out the reason for that was that the world is actually 256 blocks in height, whereas normally worlds are only 64 blocks tall, and because of this, when included in my polyworld, the world is somewhat cut off at the top and bottom, but hey, that'll be remedied in the future. Despite all that, I was able to get the world loaded in my polyworld, and man, does it ever look cool. This is also about the time that I want to mention that I messed up. When doing some investigating for the Minecraft Discontinued Features wiki, I thought I might have come across something undocumented, a classic 11A world without caves. It turns out, however, that I just goofed, and that the world was from a pre-classic version that had the exact same terrain but no caves generated. This means that technically I had been missing a terrain generator up until this point, classic version 0.0.11a. The above ground terrain is essentially the exact same as the versions preceding it, but now the underground has caves. Consider the polyworld now, up until this point, complete. The last thing I want to talk about is skins. Up to this point in Minecraft history, as I'm sure you noticed in the Great Multiplayer Special, everyone was just the human mob. But around this time, Notch had the idea to implement the ability to attach your own player texture for the multiplayer servers. This was also around the time that Notch announced that you as the player have the ability to pre-purchase the game. This is what Notch had to say on his blog. I'm going to start up pre-purchases of the game soon, at a discount of the full price. The full game will be €20, but if you pre-purchase it while it's in alpha, you'll get it for just $9.95. If you wait until beta, i.e. when survival mode is released, the price will go up to $14.95, and if you wait until release, after survival mode works well, you'll have to pay full price. If you don't want to pay or can't, there'll be a free demo after beta, but either way you'll be able to play the game as you do now for free up until release. I will, however, include some benefits for pre-purchases. Here's what you get for pre-purchasing. You help fund the development of Minecraft. Custom skins in multiplayer starting very soon. All future updates of the game, including all expansions and add-ons. You will never have to pay again. Once you've bought the game, it's yours. Do whatever you want with it. Survival mode. Some of the expansions include, which will happen after release, Zombie Siege, Capture the Flag, various level importers, and more. In this, he talks a lot about some really cool things and features that never ended up coming to the game. Things like level importers, Zombie Siege, and Capture the Flag, an idea that was, ironically, also planned to be in Classic Plus and was scrapped there as well. These ideas came alongside the aforementioned skins being added to the game, and this was the update, 0.0.17a, that had the historic screenshot attached to it that finally did it. This screenshot shows the first skins ever made by hand by Notch in the game. Probably more realistically, they're really just edits of the first Steve skin, but it's cool nonetheless to know that what you're looking at here, these are the first skins to ever be a part of Minecraft, as well as the first accounts that ever had skins attached. It was at this point in the video that I was going to end it, but due to my wonderful schedule I've been provided in school where I've just been absolutely swamped and me focusing most of my YouTube efforts on Star Wars video for a change of pace, it took so long to get this episode out that we've essentially arrived at Christmas time. Outside of Minecraft personally, I love Christmas, but it's also around this time that I first created the very world we're looking at. So, while I talk, let's build a little Christmas tree right where everything started. Oh yeah, and that talk. I really just wanted to take this festive time to say thank you. I may not have technically started my channel off the back of Minecraft through the ages, but I may as well have. As of posting of this video, with the help of this series, you, the people sitting there watching this, have gotten me to nearly 200 subscribers. To think that there are nearly 200 people interested in watching me sit down and nerd out about a Minecraft version released in 2009 is just mind-blowing, and I'll never stop being blown away with gratitude as well. And look at that, I sure did try to build a Christmas tree. Wow, and look at that. We've covered everything there is to cover for this version of the game. I went into this episode thinking that there simply couldn't be as much to cover as 15A or 16A. While I was technically right, I sure don't feel like it. With the decision to cover things like Nerd.nu or AWOL's archive of goodies, we've shown that even as far back as this version, Minecraft was still a community-driven game. Alright, if you've made it this far into the video, I've gotta thank you for watching this episode of Minecraft Through the Ages. Bye!